Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Leveraging Family Resource Centers to Support Community School Success. I am Robin Shumwell, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. If you're joining us online, you may listen directly through your computer speakers. If you've joined via the phone number that Zoom provided, your line has been muted to minimize background noise. For those of you online, please note that the link to the Dropbox folder is in the chat for you. Here you're going to see a couple of the handouts that are available for download. In addition, you can put questions in the question section at any time. So please make sure to put those in the question and answer, and we'll get to those at the end of today's webinar. The chat section is also open for you to include any comments during the webinar. But again, we do ask that you direct all of your questions to the Q&A section of Zoom. So live tech support is in the room today. So if you have any technical issues, please reach out to them in the chat. And today's PowerPoint, the handouts, and a recording of this webinar will be available on the NFSN website on the Webinar Wednesday page this time tomorrow. When you exit the webinar, an evaluation will automatically appear on your screen. And we do ask that you take a moment to complete it as it provides us with valuable feedback to inform future webinars. We are so thankful that today's webinar is co-presented by the Institute for Educational Leadership and the Coalition for Community Schools. We are so thankful to be able to present this webinar on family resource centers and community school success together with our partners. Again, my name is Robin Shumwell, and I'm an administrative coordinator at the National Family Support Network, and I'll be your moderator today. So first, I would like to launch a couple of polls to get to know who is in the room. So first poll that we are going to launch that should show up right on your screen is, where are you joining us from? So take a look at these regions of the US here and let us know where you're from. When I see some in the chat too. The Midwest, South Pacific. Oh, and if you're in other international, let us know in the chat. We'd love to know where you are coming from. My gosh. Whoa, everywhere. Okay, let's give a couple more seconds. I know we have a lot of folks in the room, and then we can share out those results. Oh, let's see. Okay, let's go ahead. Yep, now it should be up on your screen, so you can go ahead and answer that. Ooh, South Atlantic, Los Angeles. I hope you're having better weather than I am. All right, let's go ahead and share out those results. Okay, all right, so the West is the largest group represented, followed by the Midwest with 25%, and then pretty close between the Northeast and the South. And we do have participants from our cousins to the North in Canada as well. Welcome, everyone. So the next poll that I would like us to launch now is, what is your affiliation? Are you from a community school, the community school network, perhaps a family resource center, or early education and care, or other? And if you fall into the other category, again, let us know in the chat where you're coming from. Are you a different family support and strengthening program? Perhaps a different government agency. Oh, I see a family resource center. Awesome. Public school family support in the chat. Hello to my fellow Wisconsinites in the chat. All right, we'll give about 10 more seconds here and then share out those results. Awesome. Okay, great. So I see a lot of folks from family resource centers and community schools. Absolutely. See parent leaders here. Awesome. And we've got our folks from our family resource center and community school networks, education, government. Wow. Okay. Awesome. Awesome representation here. And then finally, I would love to know, what level do you all work at? That's going to be the final poll that's going to pop up now on your screen for you. Are you at the systems level? Are you program level? Are you funder? All right. And we can go ahead and share out those results. Okay, so we have almost half here are from the program or direct service level, then followed by management and policy systems, and then some folks in the other. I see here, yep, community school coordinator, grants development. Awesome. Well, thank you all for letting us know who is in the room. So I would like to let you know a little bit about the National Family Support Network. We were founded in 2011 by 8 state networks. And over the last decade, the NFSN has quadrupled in size to now have 37 member networks in 36 states and DC that represent more than 3,000 family resource centers that serve more than 2 million people annually. The newest member is Minnesota, who joined in December of last year. The NFSN mission is to promote positive outcomes for all children, families, and communities by leveraging the collective impact of state family resource center networks and championing quality family support and strengthening practices and policies. The vision is to turn that whole map green so that all families will have access to quality family support services in their communities provided by family resource centers supported by strong networks. To give you an overview of what we will be discussing today, we're going to start with a brief introduction on family resource centers. We're going to go to an introduction on community schools, and then we're going to hear from community schools community school FRCs in Vancouver, from Vancouver Public Schools, and then from Austin Voices for Education and Youth Family Resource Centers as well. We'll go through some lessons learned, get to that Q&A portion, and then go over some NFSN resources and opportunities before going into an evaluation. Thousands of family resource centers have emerged organically across the country, yet their existence is still largely under the radar as America's best kept secret. A family resource center is a community or school-based welcoming hub of support, services, and opportunities designed to support families to be strong and successful. They may be community-based, like the image on the left of a family resource center in Vermont, or they may be school-based, like the image you see on the right from Kentucky. They may also be in rural settings, like the image you see on the left from Colorado, or in urban settings, like the image on the right of a family resource center in the Bronx and New York. Wherever they're based, FRCs work with families with an approach that is not only two-generational, but multi-generational, strengths-based, and family-centered. Each of these concepts is important. So have you heard of two-generational or two-gen work? Well, family support is the original, not just two-gen, but multi-gen work, as programs work with children, parents, and grandparents as well. It is strengths-based because we see families as having strengths that we want to support them to build upon. And it is family-centered because everything we do has families at the center. FRCs are designed for all families, not only low income or highly challenged ones. So the support they provide is non-stigmatized, making it more readily accessible. Programming is provided at no cost or low cost for participants. The image to the right is of a family success center in New Jersey. There are 57 family success centers across all of the state's 21 counties. Each county has at least one, and typically for far more than one family success center. That includes highly affluent counties as well as highly challenged counties, because again, the belief is that all families could benefit from access to support for two of the most important roles we can have as adults, being parents and being spouses or partners. Two of the most important roles we could have, for which we typically receive no support or training, hence the value of universal access to FRCs. So if I can get a show of hands, some reactions here. How many of you have heard of the protective factors frameworks before today? So those come, oh, I see a lot of hands, a lot of thumbs up, some hearts coming through. That is awesome. So these come from the Center for the Study of Social Policy, and research has shown that these 5 protective factors increase family stability, enhance child development, and reduce child abuse and neglect. So as we're working with families, we want to support them to build these protective factors because we know that they make a positive difference. The factors here that we're seeing are parental resilience, social connections, concrete support in times of need, knowledge of parenting and child development, and social and emotional competence of children. And then on here, we have the CSSP website that you can visit to learn more about the protective factors. So as conveniently located hubs, family resource centers bundle and co-locate many services that may be familiar to you, such as home visiting, evidence-based parenting education, health screenings, playgroups, fatherhood programs, family counseling, and food banks. Despite their organic development and varied funding streams across the country, there's remarkably similarity in their most common service areas. These are the top four based on research funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. The first being parenting support, which exists on a continuum from lighter touch to more intensive services. Access to resources, which also exists on a continuum from lighter touch to more intensive services. Activities focused on supporting children's healthy development. And finally, activities supporting parent leadership development, such as parent advisory committees. And FRCs not only provide programs, but build communities of peer support for families to develop social connections that reduce isolation and stress, which are highly correlated with child abuse. So now that we have given an introduction on family resource centers, I am very pleased to introduce Jose Munoz, who is the Senior Director of the Coalition for Community Schools with the Institute of Educational Leadership. We are so thankful again to be co-presenting the webinar with them. And Jose, I'll let you take it away.
Well, thank you, Robin. And thank you also to the National Family Support Network. I want to thank all of you for the tremendous amount of work you do. I just want to start with this. So about 7 years ago, I'm visiting a community school here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I'm hanging out in the Family Resource Center. During that time, all the things that Robin was just sharing with you was going on as an amazing array of controlled chaos where parents were hanging out and actually not just getting resources, but contributing themselves back to the school. A fire alarm breaks out. So I fall right in line with all the parents to go out the side door. And while I was out there, I had a conversation with the grandmother of the school. And as I talked to the grandmother, we're walking back inside the school. She had explained that her grandchild just recently came back to the school, and I asked her why. And she says, well, you know, I went to school where I thought it would be more attuned to our needs. It was in a more affluent area of town here in Albuquerque. So why'd you come back? She goes, they just didn't include me or let me be part of my grandchild's education and a part of my community. So we came back here. And when you talked about the came back here, they had the elements that you would think of associated with poverty. But the feeling of belonging that she felt from the Family Resource Center was the reason why she came back, not just her ability to have access to things they may have needed as a family, but also access to opportunities to contribute back to the school. So I want to thank you for here. I just kind of tell you that story because from a community school standpoint, family engagement is foundational, even for us as a national coalition. Slide, please. We exist as a coalition. Go ahead and turn to the next slide. There you go. There. We exist as a coalition. This is our vision statement. I want to tell you, I love the word centers, because you see right here, we see schools as centers for creating that flourishing community where people belong and when they work together and then they're all thriving. So when you think about a family resource center, we're talking about a center in the center that can actually make this work. Let me explain a little bit how this works from a community school standpoint across a broad community. Next slide. So I'm under the firm belief that family resource centers actually bolster the regeneration of community schools. What I mean that is because families are generational communities. It's a complex slide. I'm gonna go through it fairly quickly for time's sake here. But let me tell you, there's more than 80 million families across America. They live in those neighborhoods far to your left. All of their historical wisdom, their cultural wealth, and their will to contribute back to somebody else being better off comes together in schools across America today. Well, from a community school standpoint, When you make tighter connections between people, you increase the frequency of their communications, and you begin to coordinate some of the innovative ideas that they have for their community. We can package that across the whole community to cross-sector collaborations between school districts, cities, counties, United Ways, universities, businesses, you name it. They have those resources we need to unleash. However, when they are informed well by the public, they can then send that back for the public to then redistribute that equitably across their own neighborhood and community. So there's two center triangles. I want to dig a little bit deeper in one of those triangles. Next slide. So the whole premise, which I'm sure you all believe in as well too, is moving families from poverty to prosperity. What I mean by that, I think most of us, if not all of us on this call, understand Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, from the slides that Robin just shared with you, I know that this community as well believes as I do, where if we just focus on the needs of people, we actually keep them at the bottom of Maslow's pyramid. We want to do something more transformational. We understand that there are families who have needs, but families also have hopes and dreams as well too. So we want to do things and have activities that will move them from being beneficiaries to being equal partners, to seeing that they actually have something to contribute right now. It's not necessarily just their money, but to also identifying where some change needs to come in their community and being leaders of their community. Just to transition to some great examples you're going to hear from our partners over in Vancouver and in Austin. Let me tell you a little bit about what that looked like when I worked locally in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Next slide. Much like the slide you had, so this is a community-wide partnership. This ABC stands for the geographical area we worked in, Albuquerque, Bernalillo County. That's why it was called ABC Community School Partnership. And it was a partnership between the city, the county, the school district, and United Way initially, but it included many other partners across our geographical region that still exists. We started off with one community school in 2007, and today there's over 60 of them. And we're able to do this with no new funding from anywhere outside of our community. It was everyone contributing equitably. So this is just a little framework. I won't go through all of it. You'll have the slides later to look through, but I do want to point out to you about the authentic family engagement and the integrated student support services and the extended learning opportunities coming to a point. We're moving folks from support to actually creating opportunities for them to work together, to sharing some opportunities to grow closer together, and to sustain their work by actually becoming leader and leading initiatives together. We're looking for transformational work. What did that produce? From individual school bases to across to entire communities, we see things from families belonging to their neighborhood and student mobility beginning to decrease. We've seen housing issues get torn down citywide. We see our U.S. congressperson actually contributing a carve out of the federal budget to grow community schools in the area. And now finally this year, that community, which I still live in, received a full service community school grant to grow this even more 5 years. Just want to kind of share what that looks like as we transition here. So I want to thank you all again for allowing me to participate on here. You can stay in touch with me. Go ahead and pick up your phones, turn your cameras on. It's a little QR code. You instantly have my contact information. Please don't abuse it. But what I most hope that you would join us in Philadelphia this year, June 7th through 9th, at the Spreading Love and Supporting All Children at the Community Schools and Family Engagement Conference. Maybe this will be your first one, and I hope that you present workshops for the one next year as well too, and tell your story of family resource centers in your community. And with that, I will see my sister next week in Portland, Vancouver, sorry, Ms. Carla Phelps.
Thank you so much, Jose, for that awesome introduction. We are just, again, so happy to have the Coalition for Community Schools and Institute for Educational Leadership co-presenting this webinar with us. So thank you so much. Now I would love to go ahead and introduce our 4 presenters that we are going to hear from today. First, we have Carla Feltz from Vancouver Public Schools, and she will be joined by Ana Aquino, who is a parent leader with Vancouver Public Schools. After we hear from Vancouver, we're going to be hearing from Alan Weeks and Julie Weeks from Austin Voices for Education and Youth. So Carla, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Carla Feltz. As Robin said, I'm from Vancouver, Washington. We are very close to Portland, Oregon. We're just over the bridge. And we are excited to share with you the scale up of community schools and family community resource centers within Vancouver Public Schools. Slide. So this is our district at a glance. We are a community that has 2 school districts in it within the city, but Vancouver Public Schools has 23,000 students, 47% of our students of color, and 24% are from homes where a language other than English is spoken. And I'm sure many of you in your districts have seen just an increase of families who are really struggling with basic needs support. We historically in Vancouver for the last 8 years or so have really struggled with affordable housing. We see landlords who are increasing rent significantly post-pandemic, and our current count of homeless and foster youth are over 1,100. And unfortunately, that number is on the rise significantly. This is the most we've ever had of students and families who report not having fixed and adequate housing or who are unaccompanied youth. We're seeing a significant increase in our students who are on their own. And so our family community resource centers are a valuable piece of supporting those families. Slide. So community schools and family community resource centers began to scale up in Vancouver in 2008 as a response to economic crises and families really coming to the schools to access support that they couldn't find elsewhere in the community. We began with 3 centers in our schools that were identified as having the highest free reduced lunch. And these were in elementary schools where support began. The pictures are of Fruit Valley Elementary, which is a school of only 250 students. However, it has a very high need. It's a kind of a landlocked school where there's not a lot of transportation access. There's no grocery stores. And so the Family Community Resource Center is really a hub for a lot of basic needs for our families. Slide. And this is one of our brand new centers. We were fortunate about 5 years ago to pass a bond in the community to rebuild 4 elementary schools. This is one of our original family resource centers as well at this school. The original center was in an old storage closet, which if you had more than 2 people in there, you were tripping over each other. It was not a space where we could hold family meetings. It was really a space where you could only hold a one-on-one conversation, which really we struggled with as to find spaces in the building to house things that provided an opportunity for families to be in and to participate in the school. When we passed the bond, we began very strategically planning for the replacement schools of how and where the Family Resource Center would be in the building. We wanted it to be front and center. We wanted to create as few barriers as possible for a family to access the center. Many times families were having to wind their way through halls, getting lost as to where this room was. And so we corrected a lot of barriers that we had created just because of just the lack of space that we see in schools. As you can see, this one has kitchen. There's also a very large storage room. When the old building was packed up, our coordinator who staffs this full time said that she had resources and things like coats, school supplies in 6 different places in the building. So if a family would come in, it often was a bit of a treasure hunt to find what they needed. And so this also creates just efficiency for our team. Next slide. The unique thing is every school that is brand new doesn't have the same design. We gathered parents, students, and staff to give input on how they want their school to look. So this is another one of our brand new schools. And as you can see, this resource center looks very different. Also, it has a kitchen. There's a storage room that has a washer and dryer and freezer. And we really just wanted the school to reflect the community it was serving. And so each school looks different. Each resource center looks different, even though their purposes are the same. So it's kind of cool to have that unique feature. Slide. Part of our strategy of implementing family community resource centers was to provide support along promotion pattern. Initially, when we implemented family community resource centers, we were just focused solely at the elementary, and it quickly became apparent that secondary parents needed support too. And our parents who had moved on to middle and high school were coming back to the elementary school for support and access to resources. And so we strategically placed resource centers at middle and high schools to follow the promotion pattern of our most impacted elementary, so that we could pass that family along and provide continued support. This is a converted classroom. So not every center is as fancy as the first two slides that you saw, but equally as functional, and it serves its purpose. There's space for students to gather. This center holds cooking classes after school where students can participate, and there's place for families to meet. We often have students who aren't comfortable in large settings in the cafeteria, who might be overwhelmed by a large amount of people who come and have lunch in our centers. And it's just another way to connect and interact with our students. Slide. And here is another converted space. This used to be a storage room that was converted and expanded on to be a resource center. And this is one of those places that if you happen to go at lunchtime, you'll be hard pressed to find a spot and find a way to communicate, because it's full of students, and it's a hopping and energetic place where students are gathering and connecting and building relationship with the coordinator. Slide. So like I said, we began implementing community resource centers in 2008, and currently we have 25 sites that have a coordinator at them, where there's a resource center available for families and students to access and members of the community. We are completely solely funded through the school district. So all of our staff are full-time. We are on a 10-month contract, but we work full-time for the district, and there are no outside funding supporting our positions. And so that we've learned is a unique thing, whereas not everybody has that opportunity. We are definitely part of the strategic plan for the district. It's an initiative that our community is very supportive of. Slide. So present day, we are in 16 elementary schools, 4 middle, 2 high school, and then we have one person who splits her time between a day treatment program and then a virtual learning homeschool program. It also has some programs that we call Back on Track for students who may have dropped out, and we are re-engaging them in their education and school. We have a few students who are parenting who are at that program as well, so we are able to provide support to community resources for those individuals as well. Slide. Our goal is always to support families and students with basic needs, and our coordinators work hard with families to determine what they need and provide access and opportunity. We have seen a lot of success, and we know that the first step in connecting with parents is just building relationships so that we can support their student. Slide. Family engagement is another component of the work of the Family Community Resource Center. We work with our earliest learners to our post-secondary students who are in transition programs to transition into the community. We work hard to build that capacity in parents and caregivers so that we can see student success. Each center is staffed with one full-time person. They are there every day, Monday to Friday, to support students and families. Slide. enrichment. We really feel that this is a huge part of the role of the Resource Center in creating opportunities with sports, with dance, with arts and music, just to give as many opportunities to our families as possible. Slide. One of the things that we've discovered also is really unique about how Vancouver Public Schools operates our family community resource centers is we have a very strong partnership with the Foundation for Vancouver Public Schools. This is a separate entity. It's a 501c3, and they exist to support the students and families in our community. They give our team $400,000 in resources, in cash resources every year. And so how that works is we are given a budget and it is divided for basic needs, enrichment, engagement between the schools. And we use a formula of looking at the size of school as well as the number of students who are impacted by poverty. We've found that the percentage often don't tell the full story of free and reduced lunch. We are we look at the numbers of students who are impacted in each school, because we could have a very small school that is a 90% free reduced lunch, but it's not telling the same story as a school that is much larger that has, say, a 30% free and reduced lunch. And so we look at it that way. Slide. These are some of the other partnerships we hold in the community. We have a strong partnership with our local food bank where we're able to provide a fresh food pantry at 8 of our schools each month. And we invite members of the community. You do not have to have a student enrolled in our school to participate in the pantry. We really believe that we are here as hubs in the community. And oftentimes we have encountered situations where we have supported individuals who have needs, who do not have children, but don't have access to resources due to barriers in their life. And so we really look at the community as part of our schools. We invite the community partners in, we invite members of our community in, local business agencies, but also we do encounter a lot of our neighbors to our schools who need some support. Slide. So in a typical year, we are giving out over $3,000 in what we call our 3,000 passes in our Youth Opportunity Pass. And this is a partnership that we've developed between the school district, the city, and our local transportation organization called CTRAN, where students can get a bus pass to ride the local transit for free. And it also gives them access to 2 different community centers where they can go hang out, they can work out, they can shower. And it has been an invaluable resource, particularly for families that might need a student to work and who don't have an additional vehicle for them. And it also helps students to participate in more after school activities where we don't have transportation home. We also provide a program called 123 Grow and Learn, where it is a drop-in preschool program, basically like a story hour. And that is one way to connect with our early learners in the community. We do developmental testing through that program so that if a family is in need of support for a birth to 3 or a 3 to 5 program, we're able to make that referral and do a warm handoff to the agencies that support families with that. We're all about partnerships and relationships. So there. And we also have our results that we have seen with the implementation of Family Community Resource Center is a significant improvement in attendance. All of our coordinators are part of an attendance team in their building where they are working specifically with students and families to remove barriers, to help them problem solve when there's an attendance issue, how they can help a student be successful. We've seen a reduction in discipline at the schools that have a center. We've seen increase in parent participation. We know that safe adult to go to for a lot of our families is really important. We've seen increase in our math and reading scores, as well as the metrics for kindergarten readiness. We've seen students ready and ready to learn, ready to be in school. Slide. And now I'm going to turn it over to Anna. Anna is a parent leader, and I've had the opportunity to get to know and get support from Anna for probably at least 8 years or so now. And I'm really excited for her to share her story. She is someone who is a person I call on when I need to hear from parents. She has the natural ability to be an organizer, and I'm just really honored that Anna could be here to share with us today.
Oh, hi, I'm Ana Aquino, and this is my family. My husband Ray, my daughter Melissa, Julia, Brianna, y Leslie. And well, as Carla says, uh, I do what I can just to provide good education for my family, and if I can be like a support for other families, and if they are like kind of like shy to ask, I can ask for them. And my daughter Melissa, she graduated from high school and now she goes to Clark College. And then Julia, she is a senior in high school and she's preparing herself to be a teacher. And then Brianna, she is in 10th grade in high school, and then she wants to follow Julia's steps and she wants to become a teacher too. And Leslie, that's the little one that she goes to King Elementary School here in Vancouver, and she is 11 years old. Next slide, please. Okay. Well, here is my beautiful friend Pat, that she is with me in one picture, like, and Leslie, and she's holding, and I'm going to cry, and she's holding my cup because she was one of my mentors and one uh, of my teachers that she encouraged me to finish my education, and thanks to her, I did it. And Pat Rose, she was a community resource center coordinator at King Elementary. So I met her in 2010 when my oldest daughter Melissa uh, went to kindergarten. So Pat helped me a lot in to pursue my dreams. And luckily in 2017, I finished high school and I got my high school diploma. It's not a GD, it's a high school diploma. And I took all the classes in English. Uh, and then it was a little bit difficult because you can see my pronunciation is still like not good, but I tried and I did it. And here is my graduation day. And I was very proud of myself, and mostly thanks to the community resource centers here in Vancouver, Washington, in Vancouver Public Schools, because they do a lot for our families and not just for the children. They encourage everybody, if they want to pursue to finish their education, they can give you the resources. And um, me is here I am, and that's the proof that they do a very good job with families. Um, so in okay, this is the here in 2022, 23. We are in this picture. We are in the community resource center for Vancouver High School, and they are my friends. That they are together. We support the community resource center lady. That her name is Julie, and she's a beautiful person too. And she always provides a lot of good things for us, our children. And when she needs support from families, we are there doing a lot of volunteer stuff like um kind of like in this case it was her birthday and she didn't know that we were having this surprise for her, and she many times she needs our help, like providing classes for to do some crafts like flowers, like decorations from our cultural Mexico. And then always when she need our help, we are there. And now we have a group chat in our phones that it calls Miss Julie and the Four Musketeers, because we are four. And we are there always when she needs help for any occasion related to school. We are there. And I want to talk about how Pat role when my daughter Melissa was in kindergarten, and then how she was very supportive with me, and not just with me. We were like 20 volunteers there, and those we have English classes, we have cooking classes, we have dance classes, and then after that, she found a tutor for me because I didn't know too much English and I didn't know too much math. So she found a tutor for me and my friends that we wanted to finish our high school. And luckily, me and some others, we did it. So it's I am very lucky to have these community resource centers in the places where my daughters went and go to school.
Thank you, Anna. One of the things Anna also is involved in is she is a key member in a district parent leadership group, but as well as on our district-wide equity team. We've really worked hard over the last few years to incorporate as much parent voice as possible into our programming and into the supports we provide. And Anna has definitely been a leader in that. Her Four Musketeers group goes deep and it's strong, and there's many, many people who rely on Anna as an ambassador within our district. And so thank you, Anna. I'm so glad you could share your experience. One of the pictures in Anna's slide is also in front of her home. Our coordinator at the elementary school, who is now since retired, but was a big support to Anna, helped Anna complete an application for Habitat for Humanity. And Anna was the recipient of one of those homes, Anna and her family. And so we're pretty excited for her on those opportunities. And so with that, I thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over to our friends in Austin.
Hi, Carla, thank you so much. And Anna, thank you so much. My name is Alan Weeks, and I'm the director of Austin Voices for Education and Youth. And my wife, Julie, is the director of our Family Resource Center. So I'm going to kick off with a few slides, and then I'll turn it over to Julie to go deeper with the FRCs. I just want to say Anna's story, if anybody's thinking of starting a Family Resource Center, we have so many similarities to what we heard with Carla and Anna, and the kinds of stories and transformational stories that Anna was telling, and our parents as well. And I think this is what you see with Family Resource Centers. They're very, very powerful in transforming and giving that just that little bit of structure or a leg up to be able to for people to be able to achieve their dreams. So thank you so much to you for what you presented in Vancouver. And so I just want to tell a little bit about, we have a little different origin story. We are a partnership with the school district. Austin Voices is, we're a nonprofit. And our Family Resource Centers, we have actually 7 Family Resource Centers that we work with, 6 that Austin Voices direct, and 1 at a high school that we help support. Our mission is to create community collaboration to strengthen families, support kids, and improve schools. We're very much about voice, as was just said. Carla was talking about that. And you can see, I mean, this is like many days in our community. Listen to the community. We love our teachers. Don't close our schools. These are some of our, that's one of our parent leaders on the right. And we really deeply believe, as I think is a foundational principle in community schools, that parent voice, teacher voice, student voice, community voice, people have the solutions to the problems in their communities. And communities differ even within a city from one community to the next. We are really big believers. We've seen the power of voice. And so I want to just next slide, please. So our family resource centers are really built out of crisis. We didn't intend to start a family resource center. In 2007, my wife and I, we were actually volunteers with Austin Voices. And we did community development work in a low-income community in Austin called St. John. And one day we were told that the district was going to need, because of a state law, to close our middle school for, its test scores had been consistently low, and a new law had been passed, and our school was going to be closed. And I've been a teacher for many years. My wife was a nurse, and we just thought that was crazy. We thought, and it was a crazy law being imposed on the district. And we said, let's work together as a community to address the issues and turn the school around. And so we interviewed all the teachers. We had many parents already involved in strengthening the community. And we all came together very solution focused. And we came up with a plan that the school board accepted. And part of the plan was, we said, we need to stabilize families. The teachers pointed out to us, they said, we have a 35% mobility rate, really high. And they really felt that the instability of families was the biggest reason that the students couldn't succeed. And we thought, well, we know how to put that together. We've got lots of partners. And so we organized our first family resource center. Austin Public Health, our public health agency, donated a bilingual social worker for 2 years. We didn't have any money, but we had about 30 partners. And we came together, and from that first center, we were able to reduce student mobility by 1/3 within 1 year. And the school stabilized, its test scores went up, new programs came in, and just, incredible. I think of the now thousands of kids who have come through that school, and the high school, which also almost closed, that their trajectories are completely different because of all the approaches, including this family resource center. Next slide, please. So we've learned a lot over the years, and I just want to give credit to two people. You can Google them, but Howard Edelman and Linda Taylor. Someone early on put a book in my hands, and it made so much sense. But these two at UCLA have done so much good work around building systems of student and family supports. And I would just recommend to you to get a hold of one of their books, Amazon, wherever, and you'll find a lot of help. But they talk about barriers to learning, things that really get in the way. Kids want to learn. This cartoon, homelessness, hunger, sickness, the baggage this kid's coming to school. At the schools we work with, some of them have as many as 10% of the children homeless at any one time. And these are realities. And it's very difficult to focus, to be in school and be ready to learn if you're not being helped with these adult problems. As you can see in this cartoon, a kid just wants to get to math class. So we really focus our work around reducing barriers to learning. And during COVID, we had a real increase, as we all did, in barriers to learning, loss of work in our communities. We serve very low income communities. The basic needs went way up. Lack of access to healthcare. We have a lot of immigrant community, and that's always an issue. Rent, utility, and just the emotional stress. So COVID was very difficult, but thank goodness we had this network of 7 family resource centers, and working together with our partners, including the city and the county, and the school district, I must say, absolutely. Coming together, we were able to really mitigate some of those barriers and keep our families and our kids going. I also want to mention the idea of multi-tiered systems. Some of you are familiar with that, some maybe not so much, but just that working at different levels. So we work with families in crisis. Each year we case manage about 300 to 400 families who are being evicted or have been evicted from their housing, who have huge immediate today, right now needs. And our goal is to make sure their kids stay in school learning and help them work through these crises. So we've got at each of our centers a bilingual licensed experienced social worker to work with these families. We also work, a level down from that with families that maybe are at high risk of those kinds of crises. And so we work with different programs to make sure that they stay out of crisis. And then we have efforts and programs Julie will describe that really address all the parents at our schools, and including adult education. Next slide, please. Our centers, it says 6 here, it's 7, form they're hubs in their communities. Each one of them serves 3 or 4 schools in a feeder pattern for a total of 16 schools. Each year we serve approximately 6,000 families, 20,000 individuals at over 106 schools are served in some way by the Family Resource Centers. We have lots of partners and we leverage, this is our flyer on our various Family Resource Centers. Each center, by the way, has a social worker. Not everyone does. We have split between 2, but most of them have directors who are in charge of adult education and events. And then we have administrative staff. We also have several what we call community school coordinators that work more at the community level. Next slide. So these are just some pictures of, ours. Again, we are don't have the funding level maybe that Vancouver does, and I think everybody makes it work a different way. We provide about 50% of the funding Austin Voices does through grants. The district, the city, and the county provide the other 50%, and we really work as a 4-way partnership. You can see here somebody's doing benefits enrollment work with a client. We do food pantries. Julie's going to describe those multiple times per month. We have adult education up at the right. That's a Plazas Comunitarias class. And that is students that are finishing from anywhere from elementary school to high school diplomas in Spanish through the Mexican consulate. And that's one of our, we have, approximately 30 to 40 adult education partners we work with on various classes. One of the neat things, you see some people having lunch there. We have a community block leader program where we've trained over 100 parents to be knowledgeable about resources, to be out in the community. And they're amazing. Julie will talk about that as well, but they've become just a family and they join together for lunch and just hang out at our Family Resource Centers. This week, they are doing Share the Love events at 8 different campuses where they've served lunch they've cooked lunch and served lunch to the teachers at those 8 schools. So they are awesome. And you can see some of them with certificates in front of that Family Resource Center. Most of our centers are in portables, addressing again the problem of accessibility for a lot of our parents going into the school might be difficult or be a barrier. And so it's easier for them to access outside. Next slide. And I will, let me see. This is Julie. So I will, by the way, I just wanted to say one other thing, mentioned about reducing barriers. We've got a mantra. We talk about reducing barriers, improving conditions, increasing opportunities. Everything we do with our staff has to fit into one or more of those areas. Okay, Julie.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to talk about 2 system level strategies and 3 programmatic tools. So the first strategy is partnerships. And if you're thinking about starting a family resource center, if you're already doing one, the first step in your process is to know your community, know the resources. So to do a map of your assets and your resources and your partners out in the community. So this is a map here, and it identifies kind of our Northeast Austin area, and it's got schools, it's got the recreation centers offered by the city of Austin. It's got public libraries. It's got social service partners, health facilities, parks, housing providers, and churches. Don't forget your faith-based community organizations as well. And so once you kind of know who's there, then you can start building relationships and identifying what they can offer and trying to figure out how that fits into the needs that you're seeing with the families in your school. So going back to the slide, I just want to give you just some examples of some of the partnerships that we've established. So in Austin, we have the Central Texas Food Bank, and we do offer food distributions. There's a picture there of one of our food distributions. We offer these through each of our 4 big family resource centers, a drive-through and then an in-person distribution every month. The drive-through distributions serve anywhere from 300 to 400 families in a couple of hours. We also advertise our vaccine clinics because we have figured out that we can link people coming for food to leverage them also, for instance, getting their COVID vaccine. So we work with our Austin Public Health and our private healthcare partners to be able to sync those services so that we do more than one thing at a time. So going back to that other slide, another example, our local food bank also does benefits enrollment for SNAP and Medicaid. And we do, as Alan said, we have licensed social workers, but they're really busy. And so we have found that it saves us time on our staff if we can bring in a partner to help with those benefits enrollment applications. So we schedule time in all of our family resource centers twice a month. We identify the clients, we schedule the appointments, the partner comes, provides the service, and it's a really efficient way to do benefits enrollment. We're currently planning for the rest of the spring to do enrollment for what's called the MAP program, the Medical Access Program. And it's basically our safety net provider in Austin for those that don't qualify for state benefits. A lot of our undocumented folks and a lot of our families that don't qualify because Texas doesn't have adult Medicaid. So we're going to be helping people, with those benefits as well. So another partner that we have, back on that other slide, I think the next one is the city, is it? Yes, with Austin Public Health. As I mentioned, we've been able to do some COVID vaccine clinics. We actually have a grant through Austin Public Health that funds our Promotora program that does a lot of outreach, and then we host vaccine clinics. And so this flyer shows how we are integrated into their system. So our family resource centers are listed on the city's flyer, showing how we are a distribution site where people can come and get vaccinated. So schools promote community partners and community partners promote community schools. So that's an example of that. Another example of integrating with our city is our utility. And so Austin Energy is our utility provider in Austin, and they have something called the Plus One program. So when families are struggling to pay their light bill, Austin Energy has sort of deputized, if you will, certain community partners that can actually pledge financial assistance on behalf of the city to their bill. And so you can see it, there's a bunch of partners on the page. Well, we've got 8 of our family resource centers, each are considered an agency. And each family resource center has a budget of either $25,000 or $30,000 for the entire year to pledge towards utility assistance. If you do the math really quickly, that adds up to $210,000 in 1 year that we are able to connect into our families that are struggling. And we know that the slippery slope to eviction starts with defaulting on the light bill. So this partnership with our city utility is really, really important. Another partnership that we leverage, I think the next one on the list the police. Am I correct? So in Austin, the Austin Police Department does something called the Blue Santa, Operation Blue Santa. And it's a holiday assistance program. So the police they do all the work collecting toys and gifts, and they collect money, they provide food, and families apply for this assistance. And so every fall, all of our family resource centers have office hours, and we help families apply for this benefit. So this is an example of, again, taking a community resource and then operationalizing it through all of our family resource centers. And I'll also point out on our flyers, you'll see at the bottom of all of our materials, partnerships are 3 parts. It's us as the coordinating entity, Austin Voices, it's our school district, and then the partner. So we believe very strongly you have to acknowledge and give credit to all those that are involved. And then one last partnership that we have, the SAFE Alliance is, Austin Community Law Center. So I include this one because it's an example. You may have some kind of out of the ordinary partners that you're aware of that really want to do something for the community. So this Austin Community Law Center is a lawyer that really has a heart for social justice. He has a heart for the poor. He wants to make legal resources more available, more readily accessible. And one of the gaps he has identified is people that are not prepared in the event that something would happen to them. So we have these clinics in our FRCs where volunteer lawyers come and help people prepare wills and powers of attorney. So we did this campaign in the fall. And then lastly, just another example of a partnership. So in Austin, we have the SAFE Alliance. It's our domestic violence intervention program. And they actually have funding for an early childhood program that focuses on prevention, and especially families with kids under the age of 4. And so SAFE Alliance is one of our partners that is actually co-located in our Dobie Family Resource Center and serves 2 zip codes, our Dobie and Webb Family Resource Centers, to actually serve families with children that are young. They do education and they do social services. So it's sort of an example of a partnership with another partner that wants to do a family resource center within a family resource center. So those are just some examples. The next slide just has some photos for you. The second strategy is linking with volunteer opportunities. So partnerships is one thing, but volunteers is another. And just this morning, I sent an email to our 911 community and parent volunteers that are on our email list just this school year, saying, hey, here's the rest of our events for February. Please let us know how you can get involved. And so we do lots of things. We do things out in the community like festivals. In the summer, we do block parties and apartment complexes. Alan mentioned Share the Love. So around the week of Valentine's Day, we have a tradition of our community block leaders and parent volunteers doing teacher appreciation events. So this week we're doing 9 school teacher appreciation events with balloons and sweets and nachos and just fun times to bless our teachers. We do festivals, we do community events. You can see a picture of a mass food distribution. Yes, they bring an 18-wheeler, and that's 21 pallets of food. It takes 25 to 30 volunteers to get all that food into the trunks of cars. And then we also do community engagement planning dinners. So this is a picture here of one of our dinners with at Webb Middle School several years ago. So first, community partnerships. Second strategies, community volunteers. And I will say, don't forget your colleges, your universities, your neighborhood associations and faith-based organizations that are all really good sources of volunteers. Next slide. So very quickly, 3 tools. The first is to assess the needs of families. So we use a family needs survey. This goes home the first day of school with all families. They fill it out, they send it back. It tells us who's in the family and what they need. If you'll just click on the aggregate assessment. The other thing it's useful for is looking more broadly at the needs of your community. The survey itself, yeah, there you go. And so when you aggregate this across 10 schools that are in a geography, it gives you a picture at a higher level of the needs of the community. The second and third tools are very similar. We have discovered through the pandemic that getting resource information out to families is really critical. And so we've developed some what we call QR code resource sheets. The first one is for community resources, and it's based on a Google platform that the links are basically to folders. The folders are buckets. We change out the flyers and the information in the folders, and then if someone gets this in paper form, they scan the code with their phone, and then they're able to access the resources that are in that folder. It also links to the United Way's findhelp.org website. It links to our school district's website. And it also hyperlinks to our adult education resource sheet. And so the last tool that we have is our adult education guide. As Alan said, we partner with about 40 different organizations that offer adult education opportunities, everything from ESL, computers, GED, adult basic education, cooking classes, exercise classes, early childhood parenting support groups, you name it. And so we have this in two formats. We have the QR code sheet, and then we also have this catalog. And just the last tool I want to mention is that if you'll click on the second row, the ESL class, the flyer. So what we do is we create a flyer with our partner that then has a hyperlink. This one is to our school district's ESL program. When you click where it says click here, it takes you to a pre-registration form. And one thing that we've discovered is that it's really helpful for us to do pre-registration so that we know who's interested, and then we can kind of shepherd them through, make sure they get connected, send them reminders. Oh, it's time for the orientation session. You signed up for ESL. You need to log in. Here's the Zoom link. So it gives us as the coordinating entity the ability to work with that partner to coordinate and make sure that families get the resources that they need. So this really completes our presentation, and I think we're going to talk about getting started and addressing challenges. Back to Robin.
Thank you so much, Julie and Alan and Carla and Anna. So now we are going to, if you can please spotlight all four presenters, we are going to go through the lessons learned. And I believe that we are going to have Alan and Julie kick us off here.
Thank you, Robin. So I just sort of addressed that first lesson learned. The challenge that I think all face is communication. And so finding multiple ways to communicate with families, I think, is really critical. I just shared with you about our digital platform and how we use that. I just want to say, using the robocall, robo-email, robo-text system of the school district, huge, huge help. But don't forget flyers. There's still a place for paper. Social media is also important. Use all the tools that you have available.
If I could just add to that. If I could add to that, Julie, and Carla and Anna, I think I saw that in your presentation as well. But just being out and present in the community, so many things happen when you're out there, when you're just, walking a street, talking to somebody across the fence. A lot of word still spreads by word of mouth and through people talking to people. And the more you're out there beyond the walls of the school, and you've got parents who are out there beyond the walls of the school, it doubles your communication on anything. Just being present.
Oh, I would echo that as well. It's just really important to just build those relationships, whether with community partners. And we have a very similar model in terms of developing partnerships with our faith-based business to, social service agencies. We really encourage when we have a brand new coordinator starting, is that she is there out front at pickup, drop off, all of those times to connect with parents, and then also connecting with all the businesses and kind of in that radius of the school. So yeah, I agree. It's really important.
And I think our second challenge had to do with collaboration. Community schools are collaborative partnership projects, basically, and it's really difficult to do things sometimes because it's like, well, whose turf is that? Is it the schools, or is it the communities, or is it the partners? And the answer is yes, it involves everyone. And so the shared leadership model for community schools, it's easy to say and it's hard to do. And what we have found that when you're doing things as a community school, cast a wide net, invite everyone to participate, and then work with the willing. And what you'll find, if you will schedule like regular kind of committee or team kind of opportunities, people will come when they can. And if you can document well and keep a rhythm and keep the regularity going, you'll be able to basically just continue to work on the next thing. At Webb Middle School, where I was for 13 years, we called it the Family Engagement Committee. And it was a couple of teachers, an assistant principal, the boys and girls person, the CIS person, the FRC person, me, and a couple of parents. And we just literally met on a regular basis, and we would just plan the next monthly event. We would plan, how we were going to leverage what we were going to communicate at principal coffees. And so that team is so vitally important. Community schools are not Superman schools. It's not based on one person. It's a together we can do more type of model.
Yeah, and I'll just say cross-sector partnerships. Julie was a nurse and I was a teacher. And until we got married, I didn't realize how schools speak such a different language from everybody else. And schools, you're with each other all the time. And I think what a family resource center does, it's like a translation center. It translates school culture to other cultures, to other partners, to parents, because sometimes for partners, schools are impenetrable because they show up at the wrong time. They don't know the rhythm of the school, all those things. And the Family Resource Center or the community school coordinator makes it a comfortable, they bridge that partnership. And so, and again, I can see that in Vancouver, what you guys are doing.
If I can just say one other thing, we believe in habits and traditions. And so if we do a STEM festival or we have Hope Fest, we've done it 17 years in a row. It's like if you do something once, if it works well, repeat, repeat, repeat. And what you will find is that it picks up steam and people are like, oh, I know that event. That's great. And people start to recognize it, and it really builds upon itself. Success breeds success. So habits and traditions and systems, those are the three things that we constantly think about. And the other thing is having partnership meetings in our schools. We have what we call as a community school alliance meeting. We have 4 of them that meet in different vertical teams that Alan mentioned, and they meet monthly, and it's an opportunity for the partners and parents to come together with school staff. And it's amazing the sharing, the resource sharing, the leveraging of resources, and the planning that can happen when you get everybody in the same room. And of course, feed them.
And one of the things we've really learned is placement of a resource center. We have moved a lot of our resource centers to the front of the school. That hasn't come without some growing pains in terms of we've had to shift where a staff room maybe was, and that has become the resource center. And there's some big feelings about things like that. And so that has been an interesting thing to navigate and work within the building team. What also has proven to be a unique challenge is our brand new centers, because they're so large. They have become very popular for other staff to want to use. And sometimes they don't understand why we have such a large center. The coordinator has a private office, there's a storage room, there's always a bathroom that has a change table in it, a change station for diapers, and then this kitchen area and a large space, and it's flexible space. However, a lot of times other departments in the school would like to utilize it because it is, warm and welcoming. And so it's a bit of a dance sometimes to navigate those internal relationships with explaining and having, administrative support as to why the resource center is there, why it is so large. And it may be that there isn't a group of parents in it all the time, but you never know when a parent is going to come in or a caregiver is going to come in and need privacy and a conversation, or when an informal group will gather to do a project. So we've really learned strategic placement is so important, because many of our families that we work with also, some of them may have had negative educational experiences. We have a lot of newcomers who are just learning what life is like, in the United States, learning what the educational system is like, and to have everything right at our fingertips right when they walk in, as that warm and welcoming place where they can go and get what they need and have somebody who really cares about them and has the time for them, is so important, that we've made a commitment that our resource centers are as close to the front entrance as possible.
And then lastly, adult education, I think, is critical to family resource centers. And let me explain why. I was a missionary overseas for about 4 years as a nurse, and realized the analogy of, if you kind of see something happening in a community over and over and over again, you start dealing with those things one at a time, and you can do that for a while, but eventually you start thinking, I wonder what we could do to prevent this from happening. It's kind of like the starfish, or you see something floating down a river and you're wondering, how did it get in the river in the first place? And so going upstream to figure out how to provide adult education that increases self-sufficiency and people's ability to learn new skills, and increase employability, increase family income. You can provide a lot of financial assistance or food, but if you can ultimately help people be able to increase their earning potential, you're going to reduce their need for dependency on those supports. So that's where adult education is kind of the two hands. You've got crisis and relief, and then you've got growth and development. So your adult education arm is your growth and development strategy.
If I could also say, I think people's educational story, Carly, what you were just referring to with maybe a negative experience, their educational story is really important to ask about. We've done that a lot, just where we just sit and listen, get a group together and tell us what school was like for you. And you find out that maybe they went through 6th grade, or maybe they had very little education. We've had parents with no formal education, or maybe they had a college degree in their own country and they haven't been able to use that, or whatever it is. But it really informs what you do and what resources and what programs you plan. You help them shape it based on their experience. But uniformly across, everybody wants a good education for their children. For many of them, that is why it's not money, it's education. That's what's brought people, and they want that. So I think hearing that story helps what adult education to do.
Thank you so much to all of our presenters for sharing your lessons learned. For participants, I do just want to remind you that any questions that you may have on the lessons learned, you can go ahead and put in the Q&A, which we will get to shortly. And then in addition, for any additional feedback that you may have, we are going to have an evaluation at the end. So now I would like us to talk about our suggestions for getting started. We're going to take just about 2.5 minutes on here, and then we're going to get to questions.
If you could click on the barriers to learning checklist, we talked about assessing needs of families with the Family Needs Survey. This document is really helpful in thinking at it from the student perspective, what you might be seeing that might be affecting a student, and what you might be seeing that is affecting the family. And so it correlates to the questions on our Family Needs Survey, but it gives you questions to ask maybe in Austin, we have a child study team. It's the place where they address the needs of high needs students. So I would encourage you to take some time and look at this document. It might just help jog your thinking and thinking about how student and family needs are connected. And I think we've talked about the Family Needs Survey. I will mention one thing, being external to the district, data sharing and sharing of information becomes an issue. And so a lesson learned is work with your partnership development department with your school district. If you are external to the district, making sure that you put in place the appropriate legal documents. And then you're going to need a consent from parents to share information about kids. So on the second page of our family needs survey that goes out is our release of information that parents can give permission for the data sharing with Austin Voices in the school district for their students. And so that's a whole nother, you could do a whole nother webinar on legalities of community school collaboration. So we share our example there. And then I think we've already talked about our resource map. We just mentioned legal. And just as we said, systems, habits, and traditions, thinking about things systemically. When you're linking a school and the functions of schools with resources in the community, thinking about how those systemically connect when there's a need is really important. And then I think Carla talked about, the space and how the space needs to be multifunctional, with everything from the ability to have classes, the ability to have private social service conversations, the ability to have a food pantry or clothes closet, having the multifunctional space that meets the needs of your school and community that's really easily accessible is really, really important.
And I definitely think it's an advantage that we have in Vancouver is that the coordinator is a school staff member, and so is also seen as part of that school team as well as a greater Family Community Resource Center team. And I think that is an advantage to just accessing information and dialoguing about students and families with school staff. We really encourage a close working relationship with administrators and with teachers just to serve all the students.
Thank you so much to our presenters for sharing your suggestions for getting started. We are going to dive into the Q&A, and I'm going to read out some of these questions that we still have. Folks, just so you know, for our participants, if you have any unanswered questions that are in the chat that we're unable to get to, we will be able to follow up with you via email. So just please make sure that if your name is different in Zoom from what you have, what you registered with, maybe drop that in the Q&A as well, so I'll be able to match you up. So we have a question here. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So yes, we will have a couple ones that we can will be available with the presentation slide. So all of the surveys, all of those links that we clicked on, all of those are going to be accessible to you folks by this time tomorrow on the NFSN website. Let's see. Oh, here's a great question. How has change in leadership affected your family resource centers? So maybe a change in superintendent, principal. That kind of thing.
I'll take that. Is just briefly. One reason that we set up our situation as we did was because we were born out of crisis, and so we actually, having the city, having the county, having the school district, having Austin Voices, having all these partners. One of the reasons was because of that, because there are changes. And so it kind of provides some more stability that you've got multiple partners kind of leading the effort. But I will say, it's just whether you've got a very supportive leader or a less supportive leader, it is always hard work, as all of us on this call know. In school districts, inside, outside, relationships take work. So I think whatever you do, whoever it is, it's going to come down to relationships.
And we've really embedded the resource centers as a strategy and an initiative within the district. So it is part of our strategic plan. We are in process of developing our next strategic plan, and some of our staff are at the table as part of focus groups to contribute and be a part of it. And so their voice is definitely utilized. And so that has been a great thing as well, so that we are on the forefront of strategy of the district to support students and families.
So much.
Robin, I'd like to address the anonymous person that's interested in knowing about how social workers, the purpose of having social workers If I could just say just really quickly, the school district in Austin has what's called parent support specialists. And, I will say it's not a high paying job. I'm not sure that it requires a college degree. I don't think it does. They're able to handle a lot of the tier 1 and some of the tier 2 types of challenges that families get into. But once you start getting into tier 3 family situations, we have found that a licensed social worker is the best person, most qualified to handle those things. There's ethics involved, there's legal things involved, they're highly complex. Things like domestic violence, eviction, families that are homeless, families that are suffering trauma. There's just a lot of professional training, and also licensure and certification and ongoing continuing education that social workers have that really prepares them to be able to handle these tier 3 family situations. So in our model, the Family Resource Center social worker is really the anchor for tier 3 family support.
Thank you so much, Julie. Carla, I did want to point out one question that came in for you, and will likely be our last one. Someone would like to know if you are connected with other FRCs around Washington State.
We work closely. We have a network that we meet together several times throughout the year of leadership from the different school districts within the community as well. And so we work together. Oftentimes we share families when we are looking at an entire county or region. And so we really try to have a collaborative relationship. We do joint trainings together. We're about sharing the wealth of information. We don't believe anybody owns information or resources. And so we work very closely with them to network and do trainings. Vancouver is a refugee resettlement site. And so recently we brought all the local school districts throughout the area together for training by the lead agency for resettlement in our community so that we all were on the same page providing services and had the same information. We've had other school districts throughout the state come who are beginning to develop their Family Community Resource Center. We've spent a couple of days with them, showing them our schools, giving them what information we have, sharing our strategies, sharing our information, very similar in the way that Austin has shared a lot of their information and data. We've done the same kind of thing. We're just all about, all kids being successful.
Thank you so much. So we are going to end our Q&A section at this time so that we can go over a couple of upcoming reminders and then also give you all time for the evaluation. So I want to thank Julie and Alan Weeks, as well as Carla Feltz and Anna Aquino so much for your presentations, for sharing your insight, for sharing your story, the lessons learned, the stumbles that you made, as well as the awesome achievements that you all have accomplished within your program. So thank you so much for your insight. I do want to let you all know that as this webinar is part of the NFSN's Webinar Wednesday series, we do have 2 upcoming webinars. One is going to be on February 22nd. That is the effective program implementation of the standards of quality. And then we have another coming up in March. This is one of our core webinars, and that is Uncovering America's Best Kept Secret, Family Resource Centers and Family Resource Centers Networks. And you can register for those at the National Family Support Network.org. We have standard certification trainings on the 4th Thursday and Friday of each month. Our next standards training is going to be on March 23rd and 24th. You can also register at the NFSN website. We also offer an awesome Developing and Sustaining Effective Parent Advisory Committees training. And this is a training that is conducted by an NFSN staff member, as well as an experienced national parent leader. Those are coming up at the end of this month, as well as in March, and you can register for those on our website. We have awesome resources that are available to you again on the website. We have FRC overviews, videos, research reports. I think that those could also answer some questions that I saw coming across, and systems level funding information. There's a ton of resources there, and I really encourage you to go and take a look at the Family Resource Center page. And then we also have the Webinar Wednesday library, where you can see every webinar that we have ever done on a variety of different FRC topics. Then we also have the new FRC Learning Hub. So this is designed to provide tools and sample materials for those seeking to develop individual family resource centers. The hub is organized into the 6 phases of developing a new family resource center, each with accompanying resources. After you register via the webpage, you'll be able to access all materials for free. And then for NFSN services, we do facilitate connections to NFSN member networks that, again, we have in 37 states and the District of Columbia. And we offer presentations for key stakeholders, education leaders, child welfare leaders, children's trust funds, and other public and private funders, but working with and investing in FRCs. We provide technical assistance for Family Resource Center network development, and we provide the 2 aforementioned trainings, so standard certification training and developing and sustaining effective parent advisory committees. My contact information is listed here. Again, please feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have. Now, I want to thank all of our participants and ask you all to please take a couple of moments to respond to the survey that's going to pop up in your screen in just a moment. We do genuinely take the time to read every single, every feedback that is offered to us and incorporate that feedback into our webinars. So we appreciate you for your thoughtful feedback. Thank you all so much for your time today. This was an excellent webinar. Thank you so much to the Coalition for Community Schools Institute and the Institute for Educational Leadership. Thank you to the Vancouver Public Schools team and the Austin Voices team. Thank you all so much, and we will see you again. Thank you.